Hi and welcome to the weekly predictions based on astrology for the week of March 14, 2022. For the stock markets, I expect a down move in the first half of the week and an up move on Thursday and Friday. Now let's go over astrological influences for each day of the week. On Monday, March 14, transiting moon will oppose Venus and Mars in Aquarius. At that time, expect increased focus on issues of human rights, fairness, equality, and the role of leaders in helping their community. While some leaders or famous persons, including actors, celebrities, or famous athletes, may be accused of being selfish, others may be spotlighted as true community leaders who selflessly help others. On Tuesday, Moon and Leo will oppose Saturn and Aquarius, which may bring about a more somber mood, disappointments about leaders, especially female figures, and concerns about safety and security. Wednesday, focus on leaders will continue due to some transits to the US chart that we will talk about in just a minute. Then on Thursday, March 17th, Moon in Virgo will oppose Jupiter and Neptune in Pisces. At that time, expect increased focus on oil, gas, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, healthcare, as well as things like Navy, fishing, seafood, floods, underwater and seaside locations, international travel and shipments, as well as immigration. At that time, there may actually be excessively optimistic mood or hopes about a positive outcome in some negotiations. Preliminary preparations for some discussion may begin at this time. For example, parties may begin collecting some details about the exact prices or logistics, but the actual negotiations, including about deals that involve oil or chemicals, are not going to begin taking place until March 20th through 24th, especially the 20th and 23rd. That is when transiting Mercury will catch up with Jupiter and Neptune. On March 17 and 18, Venus in Aquarius, which symbolizes things like digital assets, earnings from tech, will square Uranus in Taurus, which symbolizes things like tech and finance, financial networks. At that time, expect increased focus on banks, currencies, crypto, forex, tech earnings, social media, online payment processing, and real estate. There will also likely be surprising news that trigger excitement, volatility, or even anxiety. For example, earnings, especially from tech or finance, are higher or lower than expected. A new digital currency is announced, or online coin exchange or social media platform experiences intermittent service outages. At the same time, expect greater than usual fluctuations in crypto and currency exchange rates, especially Euro-USD. Digital assets, bank stocks, or other bank assets may shoot up in value, but then also quickly come down, possibly up on the 17th and 18th of March, and then down on March 20th and 23rd. Finally, the emphasis on Uranian and Aquarian energy may bring increased attention to air travel, airspace-related areas, electric vehicles, telecoms, and power companies. At this time, we may hear about unexpected profits or losses, greater than usual price fluctuations, unequal profit-loss distribution, and sudden value changes. For example, tickets to some destinations may become super expensive, and then tickets to other locations completely lose their value. Some entities in the areas above may experience a sudden windfall, while others may suffer unexpected losses. Friday, March 18th is a full moon. Expect greater than usual market volatility regardless of the direction. With Sun in Pisces and Moon in Virgo during this full moon, for the next 2 weeks and until the new moon, expect increased focus on oil, gas, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, healthcare, Navy, fishing, seafood, floods, underwater or seaside locations, religion, spirituality, drugs, lies, and deception. During the full moon, Sun and Moon are in opposition, meaning that they're in a pull-push relationship representing a divided perspective. On the one hand, consider this, but on the other hand, consider that. For example, while the idealistic Piscean Sun might emphasize the need for compassion, forgiveness, the need to heal and protect the needy, the caring but practical Moon might emphasize practical steps needed to treat, house, and feed the patients, as well as pay the bills. At this time, both perspectives need to be taken into consideration in order to achieve the best results. That is, consider both the high-level goal and the practical means of accomplishing it. For example, how to reduce fertilizer use without disrupting food production. March 20th and 23rd look like some of the more difficult days this month. At that time, Mars will square Uranus, which typically coincides with things like sudden disruptions, accidents, and attacks, while Mercury will conjunct Jupiter and Neptune, which coincides with things like discussions of the legal nature, international negotiations, deals about oil, gas, chemicals, and confusing or dishonest communications. These tense transits increase probability of accidents, disasters, power and service outages, disruptions of the social media platforms, abrupt contract cancellations, and air travel disruptions. We can also expect strong winds, storms, problems caused by lightning and fires, sudden airstrikes, drone attacks, and generally damages or sudden losses because of the turbulations in the air. This could be due to weather, accidents, or attacks. Additionally, there may be upsetting news related to banks, currencies, crypto, forex, and real estate. These may involve excessive volatility, service disruptions, unpredictable changes, and sudden drop in value. Concerns about sudden changes and the lack of stability may spook the investors. In particular, crypto value may go down. On the 22nd and 23rd, there may also be concerns about oil, gas, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, navy, excessive precipitation, etc. Given various tense transits at this time, March 21st and 23rd may see a large market drop. In particular, on Monday, March 21st, around 10 a.m. New York time, Moon, Mars, and Uranus will form a T-square pattern, with Mars passing right over the midheaven. This may coincide with a disruptive event, sudden unpleasant news, windy weather, etc. At the same time, Mercury and Jupiter will be in a precise conjunction, indicating an increased volume of news about international negotiations and deals. It is quite possible that right around the open on March 21st, some news will come out and trigger a large market move, probably a drop. It's noteworthy that in the past, squares between Mars and Uranus have coincided with serious blackouts that affected millions of customers. For example, back in November of 1965, Mars squared both Uranus and Pluto, and at that time, over 30 million people in the US and Canada were left without electricity for 13 hours. And back in March of 1999, a lightning strike started a chain reaction that left almost the entire country of Brazil without power. For the US, there will be two important transits to its charts this week. First, on March 14th and 16th, Venus and Mars will cross over its north node in the 8th house, which corresponds with things like finance, loans, debt, and investments. At that time, expect important announcements related to monetary policy, rates, bonds, especially the riskier corporate bonds, banks, loans, taxes, insurance, and so on. These announcements may have wide-reaching consequences. Initially, on the 14th, the announcements may be received more favorably. There may be even positive expectations about the upcoming changes, or the focus may be on safer investments. However, by the 15th and 16th, the mood may become more angry, or may even involve a fight over the announcements, possibly because the developments may be seen as introducing a greater level of risk or proceed faster than expected. On March 15th and 16th, there may be a rush of activity to implement something or to act on the decision or news from the 14th. Compared to the 14th, the focus may switch to riskier investments. Overall, the developments will likely be upsetting to the banks and for entities that issue loans or collect debt, probably due to the concerns about tightening monetary policy and rising rates. Under a previous analogous transit to the US chart, back in April of 2020, Federal Reserve announced plans to release $2.3 trillion in funds through its lending programs. And before that, in October of 2018, this same transit coincided with one of the largest monthly drops in the markets since 2008, due to the fears about slowing growth, trade wars with China, and rising rates. On March 15th and 16th, Sun will pass over the midheaven in the US chart. At that time, expect increased focus on leaders, prominent individuals, and the country's leadership on the world arena. We may hear about new leaders, or a leader's status may be clarified. With midheaven being in Virgo, the clarification may have to do with healthcare, pharmaceuticals, veterinary care, livestock, governmental contracts, governmental services, for example, postal service, teachers, police, etc., or a leader's health status. With this, I'm going to wrap up this video. Stay safe, everyone, and have a great week.